Hey everyone, welcome back. So today in this video, we are going to see the top 100 mostly asked SQL interview questions that you'll definitely face during your interview process. Let me tell you one thing, these SQL interview questions along with answers is not only for the freshest people but also for the experienced one. Okay? Because in this video, we are going to cover all the questions along with answers from scratch level to advanced level. So, if you are a software engineer and you are looking for a job or any job change in data domain, it means as a data engineer, database administrator, data analyst, data scientist, or that may be for a software developer role, then you should definitely watch these top 100 commonly asked SQL interview questions before going to the interview. Alright? So let's see what are those commonly asked SQL questions one by one. So the first question is, what is SQL? So as we all know, SQL stand for Structure Query Language. Okay? Or we can say SQL is a programming language which is basically used for managing relational database. Yes, SQL is basically used to managing the relational database. Okay? And by the help of SQL, we can store, manipulate, and retrieve data from different databases. All right, this is called as the SQL. So SQL is a structured query language which is basically used to store, manipulate, and retrieve data from different databases. Then the next question is, what are the different types of SQL statements? So basically, we have three different types of SQL statements are there, and those are, first is DDL, that is data definitions language. Okay, data definitions language is basically used for creating, altering, and dropping databases objects. All right. Then the next is data manipulation language, or we can say DML, that is data manipulations language. So data manipulations language is used for querying, inserting, updating, and deleting data from the database or from the table. Okay. Then the third one is DCL. DCL stand for data control language. So from this keyword, you can understand DCL statement is basically used to control database, right? Or we can say DCL is basically used for controlling access to the database, granting or revoking privileges. All right. So these are the three different SQL statements that we have in SQL. Okay. Then the third question is, what is primary key? A primary key is a column or a set of column that is uniquely identifies each record in a table. It ensures data integrity and allow efficient retrieval of data. Okay, this is called as the primary key. So remember, primary key is basically used to identify each record uniquely. All right, this is the main use of primary key. Then the next is, what is foreign key? A foreign key is a column or a set of columns in a table that refers to the primary key of another table. It establishes a relationship between the two tables. So the main concept of primary key and foreign key is to create the relationship between tables. Okay. Then the next question is, what is composite key? A composite key is a primary key. We can say a composite key as a primary key composed of two or more columns. Together, these columns uniquely identify each record in a table. So it means if we have a table and in that table we have a column and that column doesn't contain any unique value. So at that case, what we can do, we can combine two different columns together and we can create a primary key column, and that is called as the composite key. Okay. Then the next question is, what is the difference between delete and truncate in SQL? So the main difference between the delete and truncate is, delete is a DML statement which is basically used to remove specific rows from a table, whereas truncate is a DDL statement that is basically used to remove all the row from a table effectively by resetting the table. Okay. So delete is basically used to remove a specific row from a table, whereas by the help of truncate you can delete entire row from a particular table. Okay. Then the next question is, what is subquery? So a subquery is a query which is nested within another query. It can be used to retrieve data from one table based on values from another table. It means whenever we are using a query inside a query, that is called as the subquery. Okay? And the main purpose of using the subquery is to retrieve the data from one table based on the value from another table. Okay? This is the main purpose of the subquery. Alright, then the next question is, what is the difference between a subquery and a join? In SQL, a subquery is a query which is nested within another query. It means whenever we are writing a query inside the another query, that is called as the nested query. Okay, whereas join is basically used to combine row from two or more tables based on the related columns. Okay, this is the main difference between the subquery and the join. Then the next question is, what is self join? This is one of the most important questions that you will definitely get during your interview process. So, a self join is a join operations where a table is joined within itself. It means we are using the self join whenever we want to compare the row within the same table. In that scenario, we use the self join. Okay? Then the next most important question is, what are the different types of join operation in SQL? So the answer is, in SQL we have four different types of joins are there. Okay, first is inner join, then left join, right join, and full join. In case of inner join, it returns only the matching row from the both the table. Okay, but in case of left join, it returns all the row from the left table and matching row from the right table. Okay, in case of right join, it returns all the row from the right table and matches row from the left table only. Okay, whereas in case of full join, it returns all the row from both the tables. Okay, these are the main difference between inner join, left join, right join, and full join. All right, then the next question is, what is normalization in SQL? This is also one of the most important interview questions that you can face during your interview process. All right, so the answer is, normalizations is the process of organizing data in a database to eliminate the redundancy and dependency issue. Okay, and it involves splitting tables into the smaller one. So in short, you can say normalizations is a process by the help of which we can eliminate the redundancy and dependency issue. And apart from that, by the help of this normalizations concept, we can split our bigger table into the smaller one. Okay? This is the main reason why we are using normalization in SQL. Okay? Then the next question is, what are the different normal forms in database normalizations? So basically, we have five different types of normalizations form that we have in SQL. Okay. So the first is 1NF, or we can say fast normal form. So fast normal form is used to eliminate the duplicate row and ensure automacy of values. Okay. So in case of fast normal form, what we are doing, we are removing the duplicate row. We are removing the duplicate row. Okay. Then next is second normal form, or we can say 2NF. So 2NF is basically used to ensure that each non-key columns depends on the entry of primary key. Okay, this is the second NF. The next is third normal form, or we can say 3NF. Okay, so 3NF is basically used to ensure that each non-key columns depend only on the primary key and not on other non-key columns. This is the main purpose of creating 3NF. Okay, next is 4NF, or we can say fourth normal form. So fourth normal form is used to eliminate the multi-values dependency. All right, the next is fifth normal form. Fifth normal form is used to eliminate joint dependency. So these are the five different normal forms that we have in SQL. All right. Then the next question is, what is an index? An index is a database structure that is used to improve the speed of data retrieval operations on database tables. Okay. So suppose we have a big table and out of that we have to extract something by writing a small query. At that time, if we will use the index on that particular table, then the process of finding that particular value will be faster. Okay. Because directly the search process will go with the index value. Alright. It allows faster searching, sorting and filtering of the data. Alright. So the index column is more important whenever we are creating a particular table. Then the next is what is a clustered index? A clustered index determines the physical order of the data in a table. Each table can have only one cluster index and it is generally created on the primary key columns. This is called as the clustered index. Then the next is what is non-clustered index? A non-clustered index is a separate structure from the table that contains the sorted list of a selected column. It ensures the performance of searching and filtering organizations' data. Okay? Then the next question is what is the difference between primary key and foreign key? Okay? This is also one of the most important questions. So the answer is a primary key is a column or a set of columns that uniquely identify each record in a table. Okay. And remember, it cannot contain the null value. It cannot contain the null value. Okay. Whereas in case of unique key, it allow null value and it enforced uniqueness but does not automatically define the primary identifier of a table. This is the main difference between the primary key and foreign key. Okay. Next is what is ACID in database transactions. So ACID stand for atomicity, okay, then consistency, isolations and durability. Or we can say it is a set of properties that ensure reliability and integrity in a database transactions. Alright, this is called ACID property in SQL. Then the next question is what is the difference between union and union all? A union combines the result sets of two or more selected statements and it removes the duplicate value from that. Okay. Whereas in case of union all, it combines the result sets without removing the duplicate value. Okay. This is the difference between union and union all. Next question is what is view in SQL? So a view is a virtual table driven from one or more table. Okay. So a view is also a kind of table, but it's not a table. It's a virtual table that driven from one or more tables. Okay. It does not store data, but it provides a way to present the data. It means physically the view doesn't contain the data, but it represents the data in a customized or a simple manner. Okay. Then the next question is what is store procedure? Okay. So the answer is a store procedure is a pre-compiled set of SQL. It is a pre-compiled set of SQL statement. Okay. That performs specific task. It can be called and executed multiple times. Okay. A procedure can be called and executed multiple times with different parameters. That's why we can say a store procedure is a pre-compiled set of SQL statement which can be called and executed multiple times with different parameters. Okay. Then the next question is what is trigger in SQL? Okay. This is also one of the most important questions that you can face during your interview process. The answer is a trigger is a set of SQL statement. A trigger is a set of SQL statement that automatically executed in response to a specific event such as insert, update, delete operations on a table. Okay. It means a trigger is nothing but a set of SQL statement that will automatically executed whenever a event like insert, update, delete operations is performed on a particular table in a database. Okay, that is called as the trigger. Then the next question is what is transaction? A transaction is a logical unit of work that consists of one or more database operations. It ensures that all operations within the transactions are treated as the single unit. Okay, either all succeeding or all falling. This is called as the transaction in SQL. All right. Then the next is what is deadlock? A deadlock is a situations. Deadlock is nothing but a situations where two or more transactions are unable to process, because each is waiting for the resource held by another transactions. This can result in a perpetual wait state. So in these situations where each transaction is waiting for a particular resource which has been held by another transactions, we can call it as the deadlock. All right. Next is what is the difference between the char and varchar data types? So a char is a fixed length character data type that store a specific number of characters, whereas in case of varchar, it is a variable length of character data type and it is used to store a varying number of character. In case of char, it contain a fixed length number of character, but in case of varchar, it contain variable number of character. All right. Then the next question is what is the difference between the functions and store procedure in SQL? All right. So the answer is a functions return a value and it can be used in SQL statement. Whereas a store procedure does not return a value. Okay. Store procedure does not return a value directly, but it can perform various actions. All right. So this is the difference between the functions and store procedure in SQL. Then the next question is what is the difference between group by and having clause? This is also one of the most important questions that you may face during your interview. Okay. So remember, group by is used to group rows based on one or more columns, whereas in case of having clause, it is used to filter grouped rows based on specific conditions. All right, this is the main difference between group by and having. Then the next question is what is the difference between the database and schema? So, a database is a collection of related data that is stored and organized, whereas a schema is a logical container within a database that holds object like tables, views, and procedures. All right, this is the main difference between database and schema. Okay. The next question is what is data warehouse? So, a data warehouse is a large repository of data collected from various sources, structured and organized to support business intelligence and reporting. All right, this is called as the data warehousing. Then the next question is what is the difference between OLAP and OLTP? So, OLAP means online transaction processing. So, OLAP is basically used for day-to-day transactions operations and focus on real-time processing. Whereas in case of OLAP, it means online analytics processing is used for complex analytical queries. And the main focus of the OLAP is it focus on historical data analysis. This is the difference between OLTP and OLAP. Then the next question is what is correlated subquery? So a correlated subquery is a query that reference columns from outer query. It is executed for each row of the outer query, making it dependent on the outer query result. This is called as the correlated subquery. Okay. Then the next question is what is the difference between temporary table and table variable in SQL? Okay. So a temporary table is a physical table that is created and used temporarily within a session or a specific scope. Whereas a table variable is a variable with a structure similar to the table and it exists only within the scope of user defined functions or we can say a store procedure. Okay, this is the main difference between the temporary table and table variable. All right. Next question is what is the difference between union and join? So, union combines row from two or more table vertically. Okay, if you want to combine two or more tables vertically, then you can use the union. Whereas join combines column from two or more table horizontally. Okay, this is vertically and this is horizontally. Okay, based on the related column. This is the main difference between the union and join. Okay. Next is, what is the difference between where and having clause? This is also a important question. Where is basically used to filter rows before grouping in a query, whereas having is used to filter grouped row after grouping. Okay, it means where clause is basically used to filter rows before grouping in a query, whereas having clause is used to filter group rows after grouping. Okay, after grouping. This is the difference between the where clause and having clause. Then the next question is, what is the difference between the database and data warehouse? A database is a collection of related data organized for transactional purpose, whereas a data warehouse is a large repository of data organized for analytical purpose. Right? So the data that we store inside the data warehousing, that is basically used for analytical purpose, whereas the data we can store inside the database, that is used for transactional purpose only. Okay. Then the next question is, what is the difference between the primary key and candidate key? So a candidate key is a column or a set of columns that can uniquely identify each record in a table, whereas a primary key is a chosen candidate key that becomes the main identifier of the table. Okay, this is the main difference between the primary key and foreign. Then the next question is, what is the difference between the schema and database? Okay, so a database is a collection of related data, whereas a schema is a logical container within a database that holds objects like table, view, and procedures. All right, this is the difference between schema and database. Next is, what is self join? Okay, a self join is a join operations where a table is joined within itself. It is basically used when you want to compare row within the same table. All right, when you want to compare the row within the same table, at that time we use this self join concept. Okay, next is, what is a recursive SQL query? A recursive SQL query is a query that refers to one output in order to perform the additional operations. Okay? It is commonly used for hierarchical and tree-like data structure. Okay? This is called as the recursive SQL query. Next is, what is the difference between correlated subquery and nested subquery? A correlated subquery is a subquery that references columns from the outer query, whereas a nested query is a subquery that is independent of the outer query. Okay, this is the difference between correlated query and nested query. Next question is, what is the difference between the natural join and EQ join? Okay, this is also one of the most important questions. A natural join is a join operations that automatically matches columns while the same name from both the tables. Okay. Whereas an EQ join is a join operations that explicitly specify the join conditions using equality operations. Alright. This is the main difference between the natural join and EQ join. Then the next question is, what is the difference between outer join and inner join? Right? An inner join returns only the matching row from both the tables, whereas an outer join returns all the row from one table and matching row from the another tables. This is the main difference between the outer join and inner join. Correct? Next question is, what is the difference between the left join and right join? In case of left join, it returns all the row from the left table and matching row from the right table. Whereas in case of right join, it returns all the row from the right table and matching row from the left table. Okay, this is the main difference between the left join and right join. Correct? Next is, what is full outer join? So a full outer join returns all the row from both the tables, including unmatched row, and combine them based on the join conditions. Okay, this is called as the full outer join. Next question is, what is self-referencing foreign key? This is also one of the most important questions. So the answer is a self-referencing foreign key is a foreign key that references the primary key of the same table. It is basically used to establish the hierarchical relationship within the single table. This is the main purpose of creating the self-referencing foreign key in a table. Alright. Next question is, what is the main purpose of the group by clause? So, the group by clause is used to group the row based on one or more columns. It is typically used with the aggregate functions to perform calculations on each group. Alright, this is the main purpose of creating the group by clause in SQL. Then the next question is, what is the main purpose of the having clause in SQL? So, the having clause is basically used to filter group rows based on a specific conditions. It operates on the result set of the group by clause. That's why we can say we can use the having clause after the group by only. Alright. Next question is, what is the main purpose of order by clause? The order by clause is used to sort the result set based on one or more columns in ascending or descending order. So suppose if you want to give the order to a particular result set, at that time we can use the order by clause on that. Okay, to make the values in the ascending or descending order. Correct. Next question is, what is the purpose of the distinct key? The distinct keyword is basically used to retrieve unique value from a column in a result set by eliminating the duplicate rows. Alright, this is the main purpose of creating distinct keyword. Next question is, what is the main purpose of like operator? The like operator is basically used in a where clause to search for a specific pattern in a column. It allow wildcard character like percentage, okay, so to match any sequence of a character, okay, and we can use the underscore to match the single character. Got it? In this way we can use the like operator in SQL. Next question is, what is the purpose of in operator? So the answer is, the in operator is basically used in where clause to check whether a value is matching in the values of the list or in the subquery. Okay, this is the main purpose of using in operator in SQL. Then the next question is, what is the purpose of between operator in SQL? So the answer is, the between operator is basically used in where clause, alright, to check if a value lies within a specified range of values inclusive of the endpoints. This is the main purpose of using between operator in SQL query. Alright. Then the next question is, what is the purpose of exist operator in SQL? So the exist operator is basically used in a where clause to check if a subquery returns any row or not. And remember, it returns true if the subquery result set is not empty. This is the main purpose of creating exist operator in SQL query. Correct? Then the next question is, what is the main purpose of count functions? So by the help of these count functions, we can count the number of row in a particular column, okay, or we can say in a table. All right. The next is, what is the main purpose of sum functions? So sum function is used to calculate the sum of a value in a particular column. If you want to find the total value of a particular column in a table, then in that case we use the sum functions. All right. Next is average functions. So average function is used to calculate the average value of a particular column in a table. Got it? Next is max functions. Okay. So max function is used to find out the maximum value in a particular column of a table. Okay. Next is min functions. So min functions is basically used to retrieve the minimum value of a particular column in a existing table. So these are the common functions that we are using during writing a SQL query. All right. Then the next question is, what is the main purpose of creating the group underscore concat functions in SQL? So the group underscore concat functions is basically used to concatenate the value from multiple rows into a single value. So this is the main purpose of this group count functions. Okay. Next is what is the purpose of the join keyword in SQL. So the join keyword is basically used to combine the row from two or more table based on a related columns. Okay, that is called as the based on primary key and foreign key concept. Got it? Next is what is the self-referencing table. So a self-referencing table is a table that has a foreign key column referencing its own primary key. It is basically used to represent the hierarchical relationship with the single table. Okay, that's why we can call it as the self-referencing table. Got it? Next is what is the main difference between union and union all. So union combines the result set of two or more selected columns and removes the duplicate rows. Whereas in case of union all, it combines the result set without removing the duplicates value. In case of union all, it is not going to remove the duplicate value, but in case of union, it will remove the duplicate value from the result set. All right. Next is what is the purpose of row number functions. So the main purpose of using this row number function is to assign a unique sequential number to each row within the result set. It is often used for ranking purpose. Got it? This is the main purpose of creating the row number functions in SQL. Then the next question is what is the purpose of the rank functions? Okay. So the rank function is basically used to assign a rank to each row within a result set based on a specified criteria. Alright. And the main purpose of this is it allows you to identify the ranking of each row. Okay. This is the main purpose of creating the rank functions in SQL. Got it? Next question is what is the purpose of the dense rank function? So the dense rank functions is similar to the rank functions, but it is used to assign consecutive rank to the row without any gaps. If two rows have the same rank, then the next rank is skipped if you will use the dense rank functions. Alright. Next question is what is the purpose of leg functions? So the main purpose of using these leg functions in SQL is to access the value of a previous row within the result set based on a specified column. And remember, it allows you to compare the value across the adjustment row only. Got it? Next question is what is the purpose of lead functions? So the lead functions is basically used to access the value of a subsequent rows within a result set based on a specified column. It allows you to compare the value across the adjustment rows. Alright, this is the main purpose of lead function in SQL. Got it? Next is what is the main purpose of collex functions? So the collex functions is basically used to return the first non-null value from the list of expressions. It is often used to provide the default value when a column is null one. Alright, this is the main purpose of the collex functions. Then the next question is what is the main purpose of the case statement in SQL? So the case statement is basically used to perform conditional logic with SQL statement. It allows you to evaluate multiple conditions and return different values based on the result. So in that scenario, we use the case statement. Okay. Next is what is the purpose of the truncate table statement? So most of the case, the truncate table statement is basically used to remove all the row from a particular table by keeping the table structure fixed. Okay, it only remove the all the records from that particular table. That's why to remove all the record from a particular table, we use the truncate table statement in SQL. Okay, it is faster than the delete all row using the delete statement. All right, that's why we use the truncate table statement. Next is what is the purpose of constraint keyword? So the constraint keyword is used to define the rules and relationship on columns within a table. It ensures data integrity and enforces business rules. All right. So in short, we can say constraint keyword is used to define the rules and relationship on a column within a particular table. Got it? Next is what is the purpose of the primary key constraint? So the primary key constraint is used to uniquely identify each record in a table. It ensures that the primary key columns have unique value and cannot contain the null value. Next is what is the purpose of the foreign key constraint? So these are, you can see, these are one on constant. Primary key is a constraint, foreign key is a constraint. Okay. So the answer of these questions is the foreign key constraint is used to establish a relationship between two different tables based on a common column. Okay. It ensures referential integrity by enforcing that value in the foreign key column exists in the reference table's primary key. Alright. Then the next question is what is the purpose of the index keyword? So the index keyword is basically used to create an index column with respect to one or more column that is present in the existing table. Okay, it improves the query performance by allowing faster data retrieval based on that index column. So in short, if I will tell you, index keyword is basically used to create a index column in a particular table, and that index column will help you to retrieve the data from a table faster, and it will increase the performance of that query. All right. Next is what is the purpose of the cascade keyword in foreign key content? Cascade keyword in foreign key constraint. So the cascade keyword is basically used to specify the changes made to the primary key values in the reference table so that it will be propagated to the foreign key values in the reference table. All right. Then the next question is what is the purpose of the update statement? So the update statement is used to modify existing record in a table. Next is what is delete statement? Same as the update statement, the delete statement is used to remove one particular record from a table. Okay, so to delete a record from a particular table, we use the delete statement. Got it? Next is commit statement. Commit statement is used to permanently save all changes made within a transactions to the database. Once committed, the changes are visible to other user. Alright, this is the main use of the commit statement in SQL. Then the next question is what is the purpose of the rollback statement in SQL? So the rollback statement is basically used to undo. It is basically used to undo all changes made within the transactions and restore the database to its previous state. All right. So rollback is basically used to undo all changes made within the transactions and restore the database to the previous state. All right. It is typically used when an error occurs or when the transactions need to be cancelled. At that time, we use the rollback statement. Got it? Next is what is the purpose of save point statement? So the save point statement is used to define a specific point within a transactions to which you can roll back. Alright, it allows you to undo changes up to a specific save point without rolling back to the entire transactions. In that scenario, we use the save point statement. Next is what is the purpose of the constraint keyword in the alter table statement. The constant keyword in the alter table statement is basically used to add, modify, or drop constraint on columns within the existing table. Alright, in that case, we use the constant keyword in the alter table statement. Next is what is the purpose of distinct keyword in the select statement. The distinct keyword in the select statement is used to retrieve unique value. It is used to retrieve the unique value from a column in the result set by eliminating the duplicate row. By eliminating the duplicate row. All right. Next is what is the purpose of the as keyword in the select statement? So the answer is the as keyword in the select statement is used to assign an alias name to a particular column or a particular table. Got it? It allows you to refer to the column or table by assigned alias name in the subsequent parts of the query. Alright, so basically we use this as keyword to give the alias name. Then the next question is, what is the purpose of the order by clause in the select statement? So the order by clause in the select statement is used to sort the result set based on one or more columns in ascending or descending order. So to give the result set as ascending or descending order of a column, we use the order by clause in the select statement. Alright. Next is, what is the purpose of the group by clause in the select statement? So the group by clause in the select statement is basically used to group rows based on one or more columns, and it is typically used with aggregate functions to perform calculations on each group. Alright, this is the use of group by clause. Next is, what is the purpose of having clause in the select statement? So the having clause in the select statement is used to filter the group row based on a specific condition, and it operates on the results of the group by clause. So first group by clause is coming, after that we can apply the having clause on top of the result set of the group by clause. Okay. Next is, what is the purpose of the limit clause in select statement? So the limit clause in the select statement is used to restrict the number of rows returned by a query. It allows you to specify the maximum number of row to be retrieved. Okay, it means suppose we have a table and it contains millions number of records, and out of that we want to see only top 10 record. So at that time we can use the limit clause to see 10 record only, okay, instead of the million number of record. Got it? Next is, what is the purpose of the offset clause in the select statement? So the offset clause in the select statement is used in conjugations with the limit clause, okay, to skip the specified number of rows before starting to return to the result set. All right. In these situations, we can use the offset clause in the select statement. All right. Then the next question is, what is constraint in SQL? So basically, constraints are used to limit the type of data that can go into a table. Apart from this, it is also used to ensure the accuracy and reliability of the data in the table. Okay. In SQL, we have two different type of constraint are there. One is column level constraint and another is table level. Alright. So column level constraint are basically applied on the column, and table level constraint are applied to the whole table. Okay. Let me give some example of the constraint which are commonly used during create a table or a view. Okay. So first is not null constraint. So what is the use of this not null constraint? With the help of this constraint, we can ensure that a column cannot have a null value. Alright. The next is unique constraint. So unique constraint is basically used to ensure that all value in a column are different. In this way, we have so many different types of constraint are there. For example, primary key constraint, foreign key constraint, check constraint, default constraint, and all and all. Okay, so this is all about the constraint in SQL. Then the next question is, what is the difference between DBMS and RDBMS? So the answer is, in case of DBMS, DBMS stands for Database Management System, whereas in case of RDBMS, RDBMS stands for Relational Database Management System. So this is the first difference. Okay. The next is, in case of DBMS, DBMS technology store the data in the form of files only, whereas in case of RDBMS, it store the data in the form of tables. The next is, in case of DBMS, DBMS is designed to handle small amount of data, whereas if the amount of data is large, then we use the RDBMS. That's why we have written RDBMS is designed to deal with vast amount of data. Okay. Then the next difference is DBMS provides support only for a single user at a time, whereas in case of RDBMS, it provides support for multiple users at a time. Okay, so these are some main difference between DBMS and RDBMS. Then the next question is, what are the different types of statements that support SQL?
So basically there are four different types of SQL statements are there. Okay. First is DDL. It means data definitions language. So DDL is used to define the database structure such as tables. It includes three statements such as create, alter and drop. Okay. So these are the three statements that come under DDL. Alright. The next is DML. DML stands for Data Manipulations Language. So, these DML statements are used to manipulate the data in a records. Commonly used DML statements are insert, update, or delete. Okay. Then the next is DCL statement. DCL stands for Data Control Language. These DCL statements are basically used to set privileges such as grant or revoke database access permission to the specific users. Okay. Then the last is TCL statement. Okay. So under TCL, the statement like commit, rollback, save print, all these come under TCL category. Okay. So these are the four different types of SQL statement. Correct? Then the next question is, what is normalization and what are the different types of normalizations are there in SQL? So, to understand the term normalizations in a generic sense, it means to bring something to a normal condition, right? Or you can say to a normal state. But this term has a very specific meaning for the area of database. In this area, we can say normalization is the process of organizing and structuring data in a relational database to eliminate redundancy and dependency and to ensure that data is stored in a consistent and efficient manner. So the goal of normalizations is to reduce data duplications, improve data integrity and minimize data anomalies. Alright. So these are the main goal of normalizations in the area of database. Okay. So basically we have four different types of normalizations are there, and those are first normal form, that is called as 1NF, then second normal form, that is called as the second NF, and next is third NF, we can call it as 3NF, and at the end we have BCNF, that is called as the bias scored normal form. So these are the four different types of normalizations that we have in SQL.
Now let's move to the query part. Okay. So here I will tell you the top 10 SQL query that is most commonly asked by all the interviewer. Okay. So let's see what are those. As you can see here, I have already written the query for saving your time. Alright. So let me explain everything one by one. So first is create database organizations. It means here I have created a database that is named as organizations. Okay. After that, I have used that database that I have created, that is organizations here. And on top of that database, I have created two tables. One is TBL employee table and second is TBL department table. Okay. And inside this TBL employee table, we have five different columns, that is employee ID, employee name, manager ID, department ID, and salary. And same as in case of TPL department, we have two columns, that is department ID and department name. All right. And in the below sections, you can see I have inserted the value inside this TBL employee table. And here I have written the code to enter the value inside this TBL department table. All right. And now if I want to see what are the data is available inside these two tables, then we can write the query like select star from TBL department and select star from TBL employee, right? Then click on the execute tab. And here you can see these are the two tables. Okay, TBL department contain two columns, that is department ID and department name, whereas TBL employee table contain five columns, that is employee ID, employee name, manager ID, department ID, and salary column. All right. Now, based on these two tables, we will see what are those 10 commonly asked SQL query. All right. So the first question is find the duplicate records in the TBL employee table. Okay. So out of these two, this is the TBL employee table. So from this table, we have to find out the duplicate records. Okay. So for that, here is the tips. What you have to use for this, you can use the count star functions, group by, and having to find the solutions. All right. And in the below sections, I have written the code that is select employee name, salary, then count star as CNT from TVL employee table. Group by employee name, comma salary, having count star is greater than 1. So if I will run this, you can see the duplicate record. Okay. So before running this query, let me show you here the duplicate records is only Saurabh. Okay, this is Sachin, Rahul, Saurabh, Kapil, Gavaskar, Mohit, Paresh, and Saurabh, right? So the duplicate record is only the Saurabh. It is coming two times, right? So the output will be Saurabh, right? So let me run this query. And here you can see the duplicate record is Saurabh, the salary is 10,000 and CNT is 2. It means the employee name Saurabh is exists two times in the TBL employee table. Alright, this is the duplicate record. So in this way, we can find the duplicate record from a particular table by writing this query. Got it? Next is delete all the duplicate records in the table. Okay, so we want to delete the duplicate records that is exist in the particular table. So to get the answer, here you can see this is the tips. For that, you have to use the CT, row number functions, and partitions functions. All right, and this is the query for finding that solution. So you have to select this, then click on the execute, and automatically it will delete the duplicate record. Okay, so to see that how what you can do, you can again go to that particular table TVL employee, just select it. Okay, and then click on execute. And here you can see now in the TVL employee table, the Saurabh is coming only for one time, right? Then the third question is find the manager name for the employee where employee ID and manager ID are in the same table. So to get the answer, you have to use the self join with alias name. All right. So you can see here is the answer. Select e.employee ID, e.employee name, and m.employee name from TBL employee. That is E. Left join TBL employee. It is M. Okay. It means we are doing the self join in the same table, right? On e.employee id equal to m.employee id. So if I'll select this query and if I'll run this, so here you can see this is the answer where you are getting the manager name for the employee where employee id and the manager id are in the same table. Got it? Then the next question is find the second highest salary, and the tips is use max functions and subquery, right? So the questions is find the second highest salary, right? So this is the table here you can see, and it contain the column called as the salary, and inside this salary you can compare the second highest salary is 9,000, right? This is the second highest salary. So to get the answer, you have to write the max functions and subquery part. Got it? So I have written the query like select max salary as salary from TBL employee where salary is less than select max salary from TBL employee. Okay, this is the query to get the answer. So let me select this and click on execute. So the output will be 9,000. Got it? So in this way, you can get the second highest salary from a table. Got it? Next question is find the employee with the second highest salary. In the above questions, we have got only the answer what is the second highest salary, but here I want to see the detail of that persons who get the second highest salary. All right. So to get the answer here also you have to use the max functions along with subquery and outer query. Got it? This is the answer that I have written for that. So let me select this and click on execute. So this is the answer where we are getting the salary as 9,000 and the employee name is Gavaskar, employee ID 5, manager ID is 0 and department ID is 1. Alright. Then the next question is find third and nth highest salary. Alright. So to get the answer you have to use the inner query along with outer query. And this is the answer that is select mean salary as salary from. This is the nested query that is select distinct top 3 salary from the TBL employee order by salary descending, and we are giving the alias name as this as the O. right? So if I will run this entire query, I will get the answer. This is the third highest salary. Got it? Next question is find the maximum salary from each department. So to get the answer, you have to use the max functions along with group by. Obviously, we will use the group by because we have to do the group by as the department ID, correct? So I have written the query like select department ID, max salary as salary from TBL employee, group by department ID. So just select it and click on execute. And here you can see this is the department ID where this is the maximum salary from each department. Okay. Then the next question is what is the alternative for top clause in SQL? So the tips is use the row count, or apart from that you can also write the query like select top 3 star from TBL employee to see the top 3 record from the TBL employee table. Got it? And the alternative is set row count as 3, select star from TBL employee, set row count equal to 0. If you will run this, then also you can get the same answer. Okay. Then the next question is show single or same row from a table twice in the result set. And the tips is you have to use the union all. Got it? So to get the answer, you have to write the query like select department from TBL department, that is D, where D dot department name equal to IT, and you will do the union all with the same query. Whatever query that I have written in the top, that same query you have to write in the below sections, and you have to do the union all for both of these two. Okay, and if you run the query, then you can get the answers, that is IT and IT. You can get the same row from a table twice in the result set. Got it? Then the next last questions is find the departments that have less than 3 employees. So to get the answer, you have to use the max functions along with subquery. So the answer is select e.department ID, d.department name from TPL employee, join TPL department, that is D, on e.department ID equal to d.department ID, that is group by e.department ID, comma d.department name, having count employee ID is less than 3. So if you run this, you will get the answer, that is department name that contain less than 3 employee. All right. So these are the top 10 SQL query that you can face during your interview process. So you have to practice on all these things. Okay. Don't worry, I will give this SQL file in the descriptions below. From there also you can check out and you can practice as your own. So I hope from this video you have got much more idea about what type of SQL questions that you are going to face during your interview process, right? So get ready by practice all these SQL questions that I have mentioned in this video. And apart from this also you have to practice a lot more questions from Google. Okay. So wish you all the very best for your upcoming interview. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, subscribe and like our channel. Take care. Bye bye.